要吗？
好喝吗？
好喝。之前的工作也是在大人还有家长眼里也是体面的一份工作，然后突然来摆摊，其实刚开始的时候还怕遇到熟人之类的。年轻人嘛，心态放好一点，去做自己喜欢的事情，做自己喜欢的事情，怎样都不算丢人，我觉得。
你原来是做什么工作的？
我原来是一名空姐。
Actually, you probably wouldn't have guessed. I used to be a flight attendant. Later on, why did I think about setting up a street stall? For a very realistic reason. Because making money became too difficult. When the economy was doing well, it was still manageable. I could earn 10,000 to 20,000 yuan a month. But after the economic downturn, the situation changed. At the lowest point, I was only making 2 to 3,000 yuan a month. The income fluctuated greatly, and it was simply impossible to maintain a stable life. I've now been running this street stall for almost a month. To be honest, running a stall is definitely not as easy as being a flight attendant, but the money I earn is several times, or even dozens of times, more than before. Although it's more tiring, seeing a steady increase in income every day actually gives me peace of mind. After 5 years as a flight attendant, I did save up some money. This I won't deny. But as for exactly how much I saved, it's not convenient to disclose. After all, that's a rather private matter. As for education, many people think flight attendants all have high degrees, but that's not entirely true. I have a college diploma, and honestly, many of my former flight attendant colleagues didn't have very high academic backgrounds either. At the beginning of setting up my stall, I didn't tell my parents, because I knew they definitely wouldn't be able to understand it at first. It wasn't until I actually started making money that I told them the truth. When they found out, they were a bit surprised, but after seeing that I was doing pretty well, they gradually accepted it. Some people asked me if I ever thought about giving up. Actually, I did. At the beginning, I was really lost and had no idea what to do in the future. At that time, I could only grit my teeth and push through, thinking that since Chinese New Year was coming, I'd just work until next year and see. If it really didn't work out, I could just switch paths again. After all, I'm still young. There's always another way.
大家好，27岁这一年，我背上了30万的债务。
Hello everyone. At the age of 27, I found myself burdened with 300,000 yuan of debt. I resigned from the airline and started working in the food and beverage industry. The question I've been asked most frequently this year is, going from a glamorous flight attendant to someone who deals with cooking fumes every day, do I regret it? To be honest, during the 4 years I worked in civil aviation, I really felt like I was holding a golden rice bowl. That experience allowed me to see a bigger world and gave me a deeper understanding of myself. I realized that my desire and ambition for money didn't quite align with that industry. So I ultimately made a choice. When I first quit my job, I did go through a low point. Suddenly, my income became unstable, and the pressure was immense. During sleepless nights, I often asked myself, did I choose the right path? Some laughed at me for being foolish, others thought I brought it on myself, but isn't the value of life found in experiencing more and going through more? Now, as a food entrepreneur and a young startup owner, I am starting over. My shop may be small, but my dreams are vast. I don't talk about success, only growth. Every refinement of a dish, every rise and fall in daily revenue, every late-night reflection, these all echo my evolving understanding of life. If we must compare, the airline gave me a suit of respectable armor, while this little hot pot shop has helped me grow roots deep into real life. My identity is no longer glamorous, but at least now I am truly connected with society. In the smoke and fire of the food business, I've shaped myself into someone who can withstand storms. If someone asks me again whether I have any regrets, I want to say, there is no path in life that is walked in vain. Perhaps the real answer lies in the future me, 5 or 10 years from now, who will be fuller and more resilient. After all, what we truly pursue is not to never regret, but to never let ourselves down.
今天呢，来聊一聊为什么空姐的辞职率这么高。
Today, let's talk about why the turnover rate for flight attendants is so high. Why do most flight attendants choose to resign after flying for just a few years? I'll be sharing a thorough summary and reflection based on my own flying experience over the years, along with the real reasons why many of my friends and colleagues have left the job. The first reason, of course, is getting married and having children. because the constant flying lifestyle really makes it hard to take care of a family. Many people like to sum it up with one sentence: didn't she just marry a rich guy? But what I want to say is, there's nothing wrong with a girl hoping that her partner has good financial conditions when choosing someone to marry. After all, life after marriage is all about rice, oil, salt, family chores, and trivial matters. Every step requires financial support. If the economic conditions are better, many unnecessary conflicts and pressures can indeed be avoided. On the other hand, when men choose partners, if they have good conditions themselves, wouldn't they also hope their partner is young, pretty, and has good qualities? In reality, most flight attendants' partners are ordinary people, colleagues from the same company, people in the same industry, friends from school, or someone met through matchmaking. They're not tycoons or wealthy bosses. Also, resigning usually doesn't happen immediately after marriage, but rather after taking maternity leave and then making a decision. Among all industries I've seen, airlines are one of the most female-friendly when it comes to pregnancy and maternity leave. As long as a flight attendant becomes pregnant, she can stop flying immediately and enter a leave period. Maternity leave usually lasts from 1 to 2 years, and although one may need to start from a lower position upon returning, it doesn't take long to return to the original role. So many flight attendants choose to continue flying after giving birth, unless they find a better job opportunity. Nowadays, getting married and having kids is no longer the end of a woman's story, but rather the beginning of a new chapter. Resigning to become a full-time mom is no easier than working. In fact, the pressure can be even greater. Also, I'd like to clarify, whether or not one marries a rich man has no direct connection to being a flight attendant. In this day and age, if you still think this job can make you rich and successful, that's pretty much impossible. At its core, this is just an ordinary job, and an airplane is simply a means of transportation. It doesn't provide you with many social resources or upward mobility opportunities. The second reason is that the career ceiling of this job is very low. In my 10 years as a flight attendant, my income has not changed much. The starting point for this job is okay, but there's very limited career development. From a regular flight attendant to a business class attendant, then to a regional purser, then a chief purser, and finally a cabin management position, but very few make it to the management level. Most just stay at the chief purser level, especially at branch companies that only operate single-aisle aircraft. And that's basically the path until retirement. During this process, you'll find that you haven't gained any new professional skills, and you become highly dependent on the company platform. It's like being a frog slowly boiled in warm water. That's also one of the reasons many people want to quit but don't know what else to do. I've felt that way myself, which is exactly why I now encourage young people to learn a solid skill as early as possible. The third point is the workload and stress. I won't talk too much about this because people within the industry already understand it, and those outside may not relate even if I explain. Every job is hard in its own way, but I want to especially remind young girls who haven't entered the industry yet, this job is far less easy and glamorous than you imagine. Many girls become disillusioned during training, even before they officially start flying, and end up resigning shortly after, wasting their time. So it's very important to mentally prepare in advance. The fourth reason is health-related. This job does take a toll on your body, especially when flying international routes, frequently dealing with jet lag, and staying in high radiation environments for long periods. The physical burden is heavy. The fifth reason is income. If you're in a major airlines branch company, then maybe it's okay, the income is fairly decent. But if you're based at the headquarters, especially in first-tier cities, the competition among airlines is intense, and this leads to a clear drop in earnings. A lot of girls ask me how to get into this industry, but before that, I really hope you take the time to understand the realities and shortcomings of this line of work. I don't want people to join this job with unrealistic fantasies, only to leave with regret not long after, wasting precious time for nothing.
今天想让你们爱听的空姐最后都嫁给了谁？
Who do flight attendants end up marrying? Is it really like what everyone imagines, that many of them marry into wealthy families and go on to live the life of a rich housewife? This question is something many people are curious about. As someone who's been a flight attendant for 8 years, I've seriously thought about this, and based on my own long-term observations and what I've seen around me, the answer generally falls into 3 categories. The first group is the so-called people within the circle. For example, pilots, safety officers, or even other flight attendants. After all, we see each other so often, it's easy to become familiar and naturally feelings can develop. But in reality, this category is not as common as you might think. The reason is simple. We're constantly rotating crew assignments, and with so many people flying out of each base now, the chances of being paired with the same person aren't very high. Unless you're consistently assigned to fly with someone, it really is like fate stepping in. But there's also a clear downside to dating someone in the same field. It's very hard for the two of you to have matching schedules. For example, today you just landed and he happens to fly out. Especially those flying long-haul international routes, they'll be gone for 10 days or half a month at a time. It's quite common for couples not to see each other for an entire month. The second group includes those with relatively flexible schedules, such as people running their own businesses or those who are self-employed. These individuals usually have decent financial means and can manage their time better. In real life, they're actually a more compatible match for flight attendants. That's because flight attendants have irregular work schedules, typically flying for 4 days and resting for 2, and we almost never have weekends off. So it's very hard to match up with someone working a traditional 9-to-5 job. If a couple can't even find time to meet regularly, it's naturally hard to maintain and deepen the relationship. The third group consists of people introduced through relatives or friends or those met through matchmaking. This is actually quite common in real life. That's because flight attendants usually have a very narrow social circle. After a high-pressure day of flying, most of us just want to stay home and rest. We're not really into socializing. Even if we do get time off, we'd rather recharge quietly at home. So for many flight attendants, their final romantic match comes through family connections or introductions from friends. I have a good friend who fits this scenario. She's a flight attendant, and when she got married, I was even one of her bridesmaids. Her husband was introduced to her by a friend, and the two of them get along really well. Later, she got pregnant and is currently on maternity leave. She told me that after her leave ends, she wants to go back to flying again, since flight schedules have mostly recovered by now. In the end, I still want to say this: being a flight attendant is really just an ordinary job. We're all just regular people. Marrying into wealth truly is rare. It's not easy at all. Most of us end up forming normal, everyday families and live average lives. Nothing particularly glamorous. Really, it's just that ordinary. So please, don't treat the flight attendant profession like it's some kind of mystery.
Many people are curious. Why is the resignation rate among flight attendants so high? Online rumors often say because flight attendants marry rich men and quit their jobs. But let me clarify, this is only an occasional case, not the main reason. In fact, the high resignation rate of flight attendants mainly stems from the following most common reasons. First, the work schedule of flight attendants is extremely irregular. You should know that many flights are at night or in the early morning, so most flight attendants often have to wake up at 3 a.m. to prepare for flights, and sometimes they don't get to sleep until 2 or 3 in the morning after flying. Day and night are reversed, and the biological clock is completely disrupted. Over time, sleep disorders appear, feeling drowsy and unable to keep their eyes open during the day, yet unable to sleep at night. Both the body and mind are overwhelmed. So many people simply can't last very long. Second, the nature of the profession leads to being far from home, with no sense of belonging. Most airlines recruit nationwide. So many flight attendants are assigned to bases far from their hometowns right from the start. Adding to that, they don't get holidays off, especially during Spring Festival when they can't go home. So they end up drifting around all year, becoming more homesick and lonely. Some eventually quit and return home to be with their families. Third, some flight attendants meet the right person at work and choose to return to family life. During flights, some meet a partner who makes their heart flutter. After falling in love, getting married, and having children, if there's no one to help with childcare at home, they weigh their options and often decide that family is more important. So, they choose to resign and stay home to raise the kids. Fourth, this industry is truly stressful. Being a flight attendant is not as simple as just offering service like people imagine. Every year, there are tedious assessments, They must memorize all sorts of professional knowledge and deal with flight inspections. If they don't adjust their mindset well, they feel extremely anxious. Over time, their passion and motivation are worn down, and naturally the idea of quitting arises. In fact, besides these, there are many other reasons why flight attendants resign, such as health problems, income gaps, career development bottlenecks, etc. Everyone has their own unique story. If you also know something about this industry, feel free to share any flight attendant stories you've heard in the comment section. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel for more similar content. See you in the next video.